Yes, we are live. We are back for a WWE Night of Champions post-show here at Wrestle News 365. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Night of Champions from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia has just gone off the air. And an interesting show, shall we say. An interesting show. Matches on there that certainly I did think deliver. I thought there were a couple of really good matches on there. It was a show that was largely built around, you feel like, the main event, wasn't it? It was a show that was built around the main event. It was built around John Cena versus CM Punk. One final time, one last ride. A predictable outcome. I don't think anyone thought that CM Punk was going to win the WWE Championship this evening. I think the way that we got the finish is probably what a lot of people expected. I don't think we necessarily, though, got the sort of level of interference, maybe, that people thought we were going to be getting in that one. So we'll get to that very, very shortly. But be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We are currently at 22,873 subscribers. So that means we are, if I can do my maths properly, 127 away from 23k. Of course, the goal is to hit 25k in 2025. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. You can also become a member of the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can also click the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. And get your comments in as well on Super Chats, Members Chats, all that fun stuff. And we'll get them up on the screen. Cheers, this one from John Elite, who says, is WWE teasing a Cena face turn since Backlash? Am I reading too much into it? Well, look, maybe seeds being planted a little bit. We'll get to that very shortly. But as an overall show, as I mentioned, some good matches, some not so great, and a main event that I will say that I was sports entertained by. I was not expecting a classic in terms of the main event. I was expecting a bit of a cluster because that's what Cena matches have been in 2025. And to an extent, that is what we got. We did get that kind of clustery kind of finish with lots of interference. It was very similar to the Randy Orton match at Backlash, wasn't it? And I think it says a direction of which we're going into for SummerSlam. Now, as is always the case with these post shows, everyone's coming straight off the air, I think just wants to talk about what's just happened. So we'll talk about the main event first, and then we'll run through the show chronologically. So let's get into the WWE Championship match. Of course, for the first time in 12 years, it was John Cena versus CM Punk. The first time they faced off inside the squared circle, one-on-one, since an episode of Monday Night Raw back in 2013. Yes, they'd had a couple of times they crossed over at the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber earlier this year, but this was the first match in 12 years. In terms of the actual mechanics of the match, it's very, very, very similar to the John Cena Randy Orton match at Backlash. These are two guys that aren't in their prime anymore. John Cena, he is in his, late 40s. CM Punk is also in his mid to late 40s. And they're wrestling for the first time in 12 years in Saudi Arabia, where it's hot, it's humid. And for large portions of the match, you could tell. You could tell that this was two guys that weren't in their prime, facing each other. CM Punk, I think, was sucking wind and pretty blown up from very early on in the match. John Cena, he got there a little bit later on. He was a bit blown up. But to the crowd, that didn't really matter, And I suppose this is also the important thing you have to kind of judge these things at, where you go, okay, did the crowd enjoy it? Did the crowd enjoy what they saw? Did the crowd participate in the match? That is a resounding yes. That Saudi crowd, the people that were in attendance inside the Kingdom Arena there in Riyadh, loved it. They were chanting, this is awesome. I don't know if it was awesome. They were chanting fight forever, and I think Cena and Punk looked at each other and went, screw that. Fight forever. We're putting in 30 minutes. We're getting out, because this is crazy. I would have maybe have liked to see a few more callbacks to some things they did in their last match. Someone mentioned it in the live chat during the watch-along. Had they done like the pile driver spot, that would have been cool, because that was obviously a very infamous spot from the last time they faced off in 2013 on Raw. Cena hit, 3 attitude adjustments on CM Punk, kicked out of every single one. Punk managed to hit a GTS. Cena kicked out of that. So they were going back and forth. You go, that's okay. There was a ref bump. CM Punk hit the GTS. He says, come out here. When he does that, you can see right there, this is where Seth Rollins appeared. And you went, right, this is the interference we were thinking of. This is the interference that I personally thought was going to lead to the finish. And they attacked Punk. Punk took a table bump that was like the worst table bump ever. They kind of rolled him onto the table and it collapsed. And then he hits the stomp on, rolls Cena into the ring, then calls out the referee. Charles Robinson runs down the stage like it's WrestleMania 24 all over again. Cena takes him out. Then you get Penta comes out. He's got the issue with Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker takes out Penta. Then Sami Zayn comes out and Penta dives off the stage, taking out Bron Breakker and taking out Sami Zayn in the process. Bronson Reed's back in the ring. He gets taken out by Punk. Punk offers out a hand. Cena shakes his hand. They do the embrace, but Cena's the dastardly heel. He's going to do the same thing he did to Cody. Tries to kick him in the balls. Doesn't work. He catches him, but Rollins hits the stomp and hits the briefcase on Punk. And then what happens? Cena manages to push Rollins out the ring. Referee then suddenly, by the way, this is, the suspension of disbelief in pro wrestling. Referee suddenly is okay. I've been knocked out for all of this interference and entrances and what have you. Now I'm going to wake up. And then counts to 1, 2, 3. Cena leaves. In terms of the outcome, that's what I expected. Didn't expect Cena to lose the bout. Didn't expect Punk to win the bout. Always predicted that Cena would win via interference. Cena would win via a most likely interference by Seth Rollins. And now we go to SummerSlam being the next PLE. That involves everyone. Of course, we've got Evolution coming up. But the SummerSlam's the next big PLE. And you can kind of already see the card start to take shape, can't you? We're getting Cena versus Cody again. And actually, given what happened tonight, I don't think Cody wins the bout back at that point. I think Randy Orton gets involved. We'll circle back to that. But I think it looks to me like Cena Cody 2 means Cena wins, actually. So, but it's going to be Cena Cody. Punk versus Rollins 3 is happening again. So far, of course, what have we seen? We've seen them face off 2 times before this year in singles matches. First was on the Netflix premiere episode of Raw. Of course, that was January 6th inside the Intuit Dome. CM Punk won that match. The next one was the steel cage match inside Madison Square Garden. Who won that one? Of course, it was Rollins won that one. Why did Rollins win? Because, of course, Roman Reigns interfered. So I think we're leading to a third Rollins-Punk match. But this is then you get into the territory of where does Roman Reigns come into this, of course? Because Roman Reigns is going to be back. It's one of the biggest events of the year, SummerSlam. So Reigns is going to be involved. Do they dare run back the 2 main events of WrestleMania as the 2 main events of SummerSlam? It would feel a bit weak, wouldn't it? If night 2 main event of SummerSlam is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes and night 1 is Seth Rollins, CM Punk and Roman Reigns, unless they find a way to up the stakes, of course. So the way you could possibly up the stakes, certainly when it comes to the Punk, Rollins and maybe Reigns, that's when I would say, well, Hell in the Cell. The last Hell in the Cell match we saw involved CM Punk, Bad Blood last year. What was it? It was Drew McIntyre, CM Punk 3. You could do CM Punk versus Seth Rollins 3 inside Hell in the Cell. That would be a heck of a main event for a SummerSlam, one of the nights. Or do you up it even more and go, we are going to do the rematch of Punk versus Rollins versus Reigns, but we're putting it inside Hell in the Cell. That's what we're doing. We're doing a triple threat Hell in a Cell match. That's the main event of night 1 of SummerSlam. You go, I'll tell you what, that's not bad. that's not bad at all, perhaps. If it depends what Gunther's doing maybe at SummerSlam, maybe you throw him in there, make it fatal 4-way. Just go crazy. Why not? I don't know. But I do sort of feel like, well, we're going back to what we had at WrestleMania. And look, the triple threat match between CM Punk, Rollins, and Reigns on night 1 was by far the better main event. I mean, that Cody Cena match was a complete dud, wasn't it, on night 2? So I don't know if they would, again, just run it back and go, right, we're going to have Cena Cody again, or if they would have to gimmick it. I think from what we have seen with the Cena Orton match and now the Cena Punk match, if you put at this stage of the game a John Cena wrestling match isn't going to get the job done in terms of a pay-per-view main event that you go, oh, that's an amazing match. It's going to be sports entertainment. It's going to be a dusty finish. It's going to be bells and whistles. It's going to be a bit of a cluster. Like, that's what it's just got to be. It's going to be interference. It's going to be low blows. It's going to be title shots. It's going to be a bit of this and that because the in-ring work just isn't going to get there at this point. And that's what we saw tonight. I mean, they did the best that they could in-ring. Was I sports entertained? Yeah. Yeah, it was the same way that I was with the Randy Orton Cena one. Is it anything to write home about? No. Does it touch their best match that they've ever done between them? Does it go anywhere near, for instance, their Money in the Bank match in 2011? No. But I think if you were going into it with that being your expectation, that all of these years later, 14 years later, when both of the guys are in their mid-40s, they were going to surpass what they did at Money in the Bank in Chicago 2011, then I would say expectations, you've got to get them way further down. I think for both, it's probably the best that they can do at this stage of the game. And I think in terms of the interference, was it a bit overboard with Penta and with Sami? I probably wouldn't have gone that far with it, but I suppose they needed to have someone to come and take out Bronson Reed, and they needed someone to take out Bron Breakker, so that's how they got to that point, I guess. Like John Elite said earlier, is WWE teasing that John Cena face turn? Well, after the Randy Orton one, the crowd cheered him. He did shake the hand, but I think just because he shook the hand of Punk, that doesn't necessarily, because he still was about to kick him in the balls. I mean, it does go to show though, when he took out Rollins and when he was shoving Rollins and what have you, the crowd did like that. So whenever they do decide, because Cena's turning baby again, like he will turn face again, he will become a baby face again. There's too much equity in that, and he won't retire as a heel. He'll have at least one more match as a babyface. The crowd are going to be all over that. So, predictable finish in terms of Rollins interferes and cost Punk. The direction certainly for SummerSlam, no doubt about that now, are Cena versus Cody, Punk versus Rollins. Maybe once again Reigns comes back and gets involved, or maybe Roman comes back and maybe faces Bron Breakker. Maybe the focus is not so much on Rollins. Maybe the focus is on, because Bron Breakker, of course, was the person to spear Reigns through the barricade on the Raw after WrestleMania. So maybe, like I said, it's Punk versus Rollins, Hell in a Cell. It's Reigns versus Bron Breakker. Maybe that's where they're kind of going with it. That would make a bit of sense, I suppose. So Cena retains, and again, it was to be expected. We've got over 63 people watching, which is great. We're at 23 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be also sure to subscribe, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there. We're way less than 200 subscribers to go until 23k. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster. Links in the video description. You can click the join button or scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. Speaking of the sidebar, you can see all upcoming live streams we've got here on the channel. That includes WWE's Evolution pay-per-view or premium live event, WWE Saturday Night's main event, Goldberg's retirement match, as well as AEW All In Texas. We'll have live watch-alongs and post-shows for that. Lil says everyone's favorite skunk is a champion, and Troy Taylor says big up Owen, big up Troy. I appreciate you tuning in. Let's go to the other matches on the show. We began with a King of the Ring final, Cody Rhodes defeating Randy Orton to become the King of the Ring and also earn his opportunity to face the undisputed WWE Champion, now that we know that is John Cena, at SummerSlam. So we'll be getting a WrestleMania rematch in that regard. In terms of a match, could you say this was match of the night? Probably, yeah. I think you'd probably have to, wouldn't you? This was match of the night. Fantastic in rework. I mean, for all of the, we're talking about Cena and Punk and how, they're not in their prime. They're not what they used to be. Randy Orton, he's 45. He's still putting out these absolute barn burners. In fairness, it was like when Randy Orton faced Cena, it always helps to have the younger guy in the ring helping you. So that's like, for instance, when Punk faced Drew McIntyre, or when it's the problem is when you've got two, guys in their mid to late 40s, that's when it can be a bit troublesome. But this was probably match of the night. They had a lot of different callbacks. They're kicking out of crossroads. They're kicking out of RKOs. There was a point in the match where Orton was conflicted. He was thinking about, should I punt Cody? Shouldn't I punt Cody? And in the end, he does eventually go for it, but he misses. Orton pulls off the top turnbuckle. Looks like he's going to cheat with that. Tries to put Cody into it. Cody manages to fight out, but Cody does use it, and it goes into his into his side. Cody's hit the crossroads. 1, 2, 3. And Randy Orton's face was a picture. It was an absolute picture at the end of this one. Cody cut a generic babyface promo about, he's king of the ring and he was going to be given the ball again at SummerSlam, etc., what have you. Randy looked pissed. And ever since Cody Rhodes returned to WWE, they have been building towards a Randy Orton heel turn on Cody. This is many, many, many years in the making. And what you saw at the end of this match, and when the screen grab comes up of Randy Orton's face, it's the same story as Cody Rhodes with Kevin Owens. It's the exact same story that he did last year, which is they have a match. Kevin Owens, he could have cheated. He kind of does, but doesn't. Cody wins, and he goes, all right, yeah. But it will eat at him. It will eat at Randy Orton. And think of it when it comes to Randy. He was in the King of the Ring finals last year. He lost to Gunther. He lost. Didn't make it to SummerSlam. He challenged John Cena at Backlash. He was going to end his 17th title reign. What happened, though? He lost. So he wasn't the guy to defeat Cena. He said, well, look, I'm going to win the King of the Ring, though. I'm going to win the King of the Ring, and that's going to be my way that I'm going to challenge Cena and beat him at SummerSlam. That's what it's going to be. And he lost. And he didn't just lose to anyone. He lost to his protege. And technically, his protege cheated. He used an exposed turnbuckle. Now, granted, it was Randy Orton who exposed it in the first place. Cody was just doing it. But, these are the shots here. For the longest time, Randy Orton was just behind Cody, and I loved the camera angle that they did here. I loved it. He was lurking. And you thought, is he going to attack him now? And he was just seething. And you could tell he was disappointed, and he thought, he got the better of me, and I lost again in the King of the Ring final, and I'm not going to be... He's getting up an opportunity, and he got it actually by cheating. I taught him everything he knows. How dare he do that? And this was the shot. This is the shot I'm talking about. It was that. Look at that guy's face. Randy Orton has been in WWE for 23 years. Randy Orton as a heel is one of the most dastardly, villainous heels in WWE history. We go back to 2009, bald-headed Randy Orton, yeah? The one who really started to hear the voices. The one who DDT'd Stephanie McMahon and then kissed her. Or kicked Vince McMahon in the head. Or twisted Jeff Hardy's ear with a screwdriver. Randy Orton is a psychopath deep down. Don't forget about that. And if you've watched WWE over the last 2 decades, or if you've watched Randy Orton over the last 2 decades, you know that face. And particularly with WWE, there's particularly shots like that in pro wrestling. I shouldn't even say WWE, just in general. In pro wrestling, shots like that are very deliberate. Camera angles like that are very deliberate. That's why they rehearse the shows. After the match, you stand here. The cameraman will shoot you like this. I'm going to pull this face, and you make sure you get it. Cut to Randy now. He's pulling that face. Bang. That is the face of a man who is going to cost Cody Rhodes the WWE Championship in the main event of SummerSlam. Cody Rhodes, in my opinion, won't get given the ball back. Cody Rhodes will not defeat John Cena in the WrestleMania rematch, because in every Cena match there's interference and there's a screwy finish, and I don't think Cena's going to drop the belt just yet, and I think it's going to be because Randy Orton can't live with the fact that Cody Rhodes is the one to beat Cena. He can't let that happen, and he'll be damned if he lets Cody Rhodes try and eclipse his shadow and everything he's done in WWE. So that is the look of a man that is turning heel. That is the look of a man that is going to turn on Cody Rhodes and stop him winning the WWE Championship. I'm almost certain of it at this point. We've got 70 people watching. If you haven't already, click the like button, see if we can get to 50 likes, and also be sure to subscribe. So that was the opener. Again, match of the night. Really, really good match. Really enjoyed it. Gentleman with a Lamp says something about Jade Cargill. We'll circle back to that. Chiku says, does that mean Randy Orton's turning heel? And Ridwan says if it brings back more punt kits, then yes. Next up, we had a street fight. It was Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley. And they got time, went 14 minutes. Rhea Ripley, of course, gets the win, as many people did expect. But I tell you what, this was a good match. They've got great chemistry. I mean, they've worked together a lot. They're legitimately friends outside of the ring. They've worked a lot from their time in NXT. Obviously, they've worked a bunch on the main roster as well. And you really saw that. Yes, was this a vehicle to get Rhea Ripley on the PLE because Rhea Ripley is one of the biggest, women's stars that they've got? Yes. I know some will be like, oh, look, Rhea Ripley gets a match at the PLE, but there's not a women's championship match. That women's championship match that was on SmackDown Friday, maybe that should have been on the PLE. Or how come Io Sky's not on the PLE? I think a lot of it does have to do with Liv Morgan. Reportedly, there was a plan at one stage to have Io Sky versus Liv Morgan at this PLE, but then, of course, Liv Morgan got hurt. I mean, I know they like to load up those pre and post episodes of TV for the PLE, so they thought, well, SmackDown will have a big women's championship match, last woman standing. Maybe that's why. But look, in terms of the match certainly delivered. We did see Roxanne Perez get involved at one point. Ripley managed to neutralize her, so certainly those reports suggesting that Roxanne Perez is going to become the other half of the women's tag team champions alongside Raquel Rodriguez. That certainly looks like that's going to be the case. But Rhea Ripley gets the win. It was kind of Kurt Angle, Shane McMahon, King of the Ring 2001-esque. They had the table across the top rope, and they used the table as a platform for Ripley to hit an avalanche riptide to get the victory. As for what happens next for both of them, I mean, wow. Look, Roxanne and Raquel are going to be the tag team champions. Maybe Rhea continues to feud with them, and she has to find a tag team partner, perhaps. Maybe that's the direction. Because in terms of the Women's World Championship, I mean, I guess Asuka didn't win the Queen of the Ring, so you could go back to Rhea versus Io again, but I think Ripley would benefit from just not being in the title picture for a little bit. Sometimes you can be in that picture a bit too much. I don't know. Obviously, look, she's the big star, and they want to involve her as much as possible. But I still think they can go to Asuka versus Io at SummerSlam for the Women's World Championship. Next up, we had Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. If you watched it along with us on the watch along, you would have seen we had a Karrion Kross back bump count. We did. With all of the chatter and the rumours, Karrion Kross, he won't be a star because he doesn't take bumps. What did we count to? Was it 7? I think it was 7 he did in that match. And they were flat back bumps. It is a nothing story. I don't know where it came from. Well, I do actually. It was Wade Keller. Wade Keller said it on his show. He said he was told it by some wrestlers. And then obviously it got signal boosted on social media this week because, of course, you can find clips of people not taking bumps or taking weird bumps and go, see? And especially if you leave out all the evidence of them actually taking bumps, you go, yeah, that's a very compelling case, actually, isn't it? But you leave out a lot of evidence and a lot of context. Sami Zayn gets the win, as expected. It was a vehicle just to get Sami Zayn on the PLE because, of course, Sami's super, super popular in that region of the world. He's super popular with the Saudi Arabian audience. Of course, he's of Syrian descent. And for the longest time, he wasn't able to do these Saudi shows for political reasons because he was in danger, effectively. But those tensions have thawed. And now he's on all of these shows, and he's a big draw on these shows. Certainly wasn't the only time we saw Sami that evening. So Sami Zayn got the victory from a haluva kick, and you would think that's probably it for the Sami Zayn Karrion Kross story. There's not really much more to say on that one, is there? Next up, we have the United States Championship, and folks, we have a brand new WWE United States Champion, as I predicted on the Night of Champions sort of build-up videos we do here on the channel. We had major debuts, major returns, major surprises, and there was one in each of them. There was a major return in the form of Tonga Loa, back for the first time since Survivor Series, tore his bicep inside War Games. He returned in this match. There was a major debut, which was quite, I think, predictable. Hikuleu, after being under contract to WWE for over a year. Yes, he's been under contract for over a year, and wasn't being used on NXT, and people thought, oh, is he just bad? Is he just going to be released? What's going on? Last couple of weeks, we saw him in these dark matches prior to SmackDown going on the air on social media. And he makes his debut, attacks Jacob Fatu, puts him on the table, and then, of course, one of the major surprise video was that Solo Sikoa won the US Championship. Now, I know someone will be probably this is sometimes the issue of wrestling fans. Like, oh, look at Jacob Fatu. Solo shouldn't be winning singles titles. Jacob Fatu, he's been buried. bloody hell, they had two people in. Well, they had JC Mateo interfere. They had Tonga Loa interfere. They had Hikuleo interfere. And Solo Sikoa hit him with a Samoan spike. He was pretty well protected in that one. And Jacob Fatu will win back the US Championship. That'll probably happen at SummerSlam. I think there is a legitimate question to say, where is Jimmy Uso? Why was Jimmy Uso not, involved? Why didn't he come out? And that's a really good question. They teased it on SmackDown, then it was nowhere to be seen. So unless they're going to do an angle whereby you go, Big Jim, where were you? You didn't even help me. And he's going to be the backup against this version of the Bloodline. I don't know. I'm not sure. Jamie says, Raw should be good though. He says, no, there was 1 in 2 out of the 3 of them. Hey, it was 3 out of 3. Yeah, Jamie's just realized. Yeah, it was 3 out of 3. It was 3 out of 3. There was a return in Tonga Loa. There was a debut in the form of Hikuleo. And there was the surprise, which was Solo winning the US Championship. So, yeah. They call me the Oracle. Yes, they call me the Oracle. But Jacob Fatu, I think, will win the title back at SummerSlam. He'll have his big moment of becoming a 2-time champion there. Probably Jimmy Uso will be integrated. I mean, could there be a situation where, Jacob has to find backup? And who is that backup? Is it in the form of, the Usos? Jimmy and Jay are his backup. Does Jay Uso get back into this Bloodline story? I mean, he's not really doing that much now on Raw, post-world title reign, is he? Really? So maybe. But it just keep circling back to that, don't they? Go, oh, you can tag up your brother again. You can be involved in that again, maybe. I'm not sure.
Fucking reckless! That's fucking reckless!
Only gonna give me your...
Jamie's crazy. Jamie's crazy. The best thing is, Jamie, he realised. I'd tell you what, Jamie is mad because I wasn't even expecting that one. I wasn't even expecting that one. I didn't actually think that he was even going to do that. I thought, look, he did 250 on the watch along. But no, there was 1 out of 2 or 3 of them. They went, oh, yeah, and then he put it up. Shout out, Jamie, man. He's always involved. He's always in a back and forth. He's always involved in the live chat. Always involved in the comments and all the videos. That's where this all stems from. Of him, he was on all of those ones. He went, I bet £100 that none of these will happen. None. I was like, I'd take that bet. Just one. Yeah, exactly. He's like, not anymore. Not anymore. There are repercussions. There are massive repercussions out there, JB. Yeah. We all learned a lesson today. But in all seriousness, JB, your generosity is greatly appreciated. This is a passion project channel. It's the channel I even started doing YouTube stuff on. Obviously, it doesn't do the numbers of United View or anything like that, or the Football Fleck. But it's a channel that is near and dear to my heart. It's been going for years, so it really does make a difference. So thank you very much. Big up to everyone that puts the super chats in, and big up to everyone that just gets involved, or clicks the like button or subscribes. It really does make a difference. So I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you, JB. My biggest hater and supporter at the same time. Man, shout out to you. Speaking of haters, we got to talk about this Queen of the Ring final. Oh my goodness me. Jade Cargill is the Queen of the Ring. That's a real sentence. I spoke about the King of the Ring final being the best match on the show. Far and away the worst match of the show, this. And I wouldn't put a lot of blame on Asuka. She tried. But Jade Cargill, she's just not getting better. I mean, let's be really honest here. She's just not getting better. She's worked now for quite some time. I mean, you could say, look, Owen, she only started sort of training in, 2019, 2020, but midway through 2025 at this point. And it's just not good. The match itself wasn't all that to write home about. It's not in the best spot. It's before the main event. I get that, and everyone was there to see the main event. But still, crowd was quiet. Asuka tried. And then the finish, Asuka goes for the hip attack. She turns it into Jaded. And you go, okay, fine. And then when she's doing her pin and her pose, she's leaning back. She leans back so much that she falls backwards. And Asuka's shoulders clearly come off the mat. Michael Cole, if you watch it back on commentary, kind of like pauses and then realizes, oh, that was a screw up. And also, oh, we're not doing an angle where Asuka's shoulders are off the mat. We're not meant to be talking about that. And it just kind of has to sort of play it off like it didn't really happen. And it was just, there was just a total mess of a finish. And again, it's not the first time that's happened with Jade. And to say that, Queen of the Ring, you go, are you saying that ironically? As far as where they go for this, well, obviously, look, Jade's competing for the Women's Championship at SummerSlam. Currently, the champion's Tiffany Stratton. I think this maybe suggests that it's going to be Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair. Maybe main event of Evolution. Bianca Belair wins that. And you get Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair at SummerSlam. And then Naomi's in the background. Could she cash in? Will she cash in? Won't she cash in? I think maybe that's the direction they might be going in. But yeah, just once again, I think when it comes to Jade, just like I said, just not getting better. And just in terms of the ring, obviously he's got a great look and a fantastic presence, size, and great following. But in terms of the ring, it's just too many big moments, big botches, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good whatsoever, was it? So there you go. And as I mentioned, the main event, as we've gone over, WWE Championship match, John Cena defeats CM Punk via a myriad of interference, including the likes of Rollins attempting to cash in, Bron Breakker, Big Bronson Reed, Paul Heyman was there. Then it was neutralized by Penta, Sami Zayn. John Cena prevented the cash-in. Eventually, Seth Rollins takes out CM Punk with the briefcase and the stomp. Cena manages to get Rollins out of the ring, pins Punk, and gets out of there with the WWE Championship. So he's still the never-seen 17-time WWE Champion. So there you go, guys. That was Night of Champions for you. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in for the back-to-back streaming days, actually. We had, obviously, the watch-along last night for SmackDown, which was a tough watch considering all the technical issues, but I appreciate everyone that stuck with it for the watch-along and the post-show. Same goes for today. Luckily, there were no technical issues for WWE in Saudi. But I appreciate everyone that's tuned in for their watch-along and this post-show. As I said, it's going to be a really busy couple of weeks here with live streams on the channel. We're going to have, that Saturday, July 12th and 13th is going to be nuts. We've got All in Texas. Earlier on in the day, we'll have a watch-along and a post-show. Then that goes into Saturday night's main event later on that evening, which will be Goldberg versus Gunther, Goldberg's retirement match. We'll watch along for that and then a post-show. Then the next day, we'll have WWE Evolution, WWE's all-women's premium live event. We'll have a watch-along and a post-show for that too. And then you never know what can happen in between then when it comes to special shows, special events. Obviously, SummerSlam is coming up. That's a 2-night affair right at the beginning of August. And one of those nights is a football match night as well, so I'm going to have a multi-screen experience. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in as per usual. We'll be back for more content tomorrow. News videos, countdown videos, etc. Stay away from them, Jamie. Well, don't actually. I love it. I love it. Keep it going. And appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'm out of here. Peace.